Thank you very much for that introduction, which I did hear. And I certainly am honored to be part of the CUNY Greenlight Climate Festival. Shout out to all the CUNY staff and students who are part of this. I'm a big fan of our current CUNY Chancellor, Felix Matos Rodriguez, and no surprise that they would be supporting this wonderful endeavor. And Elliot, I want to thank you not just for that introduction, but for Carbon Base's innovative work in the fight against climate change. It really makes such an important difference. So let me just say, it's a privilege to spend a few moments with you as part of the festival. I'm really impressed by the panel of experts and discussions that have been packed in over these 2 days. It's certainly clear to all of us, I think by now, that when it comes to addressing climate change, there is a massive amount of critical work being done right now, but certainly much more that has to be done. For the very clear reason that I think we all understand the future of our planet is at stake. We have now the opportunity, and I would argue the obligation, to create a healthier, more equitable, more sustainable world. And that goes hand in hand with having a stronger, more sustainable economy as well. As Elliot mentioned, one of the hats that I wear as New York State Comptroller, as trustee of our pension fund, the New York Common Retirement Fund, that supports the retirement benefits of our 1.1 million public workers active today and retirees as well. And certainly from our perspective as an investor, and certainly from the perspective of being concerned about the overall health of the economy, dealing with the issue of climate change, both from a risk point of view and an opportunity point of view, has certainly been very important to me. And understanding that, to me, is really proof that it's the right thing to do and the smart thing to approach as part of our obligations to protect that pension fund. So that's why I think Elliot wanted me to speak with you, because we've done a lot in this area with the investment strategies that we've announced and that we continue to implement. We're a very active pension fund, both in terms of investing, but also in terms of engaging with the corporations where we hold stock to make sure that they are doing right by the climate issue in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, identifying what their carbon footprint is, and working to reduce that footprint. We have been ranked third in the world of all pension funds and first in the US by the Asset Owners Disclosure Project among institutional investors like pension funds who are addressing climate change related investment risk and opportunity. We certainly know with the broad discussion going on, the Paris Agreement, which thankfully, as you know, the US has rejoined, has certainly been setting the global community on a path towards effectively dealing with this issue. But it's very clear that the goals of the Paris Agreement can only be achieved if government, from a policy perspective, a private sector as well, that includes investors, really everyone, achieve that net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, the year 2050 at the very, very latest. We certainly see a growing list of governments around the world, including the UK, France, China, Japan, New York State as well, setting targets and adopting policies that would realize the net zero 2050 goals. Some of you may have heard that in New York, the legislature and the governor enacted the Climate and Community Protection Act, set our state on a very aggressive path to net zero emissions, bold targets of 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, 100% emissions-free electricity supply by the year 2040. It's an indication of how policy, legislation in this case, is as important as anything else that we do. So the state is also doing its own series of investments in the low carbon economy. So trying to get renewable electricity to where it's at. Our state's utilities are planning an estimated $6.8 billion in new transmission and distribution infrastructure. The state will be investing $400 million in 5 port facilities on New York's waterfront to support the development of offshore wind. You may have seen in just yesterday's paper, the federal government is really opening up opportunities in the area between Long Island and New Jersey for there to be offshore wind there. And the state is also, as part of this budget that's under discussion right now, It's proposed to invest $20 million to develop offshore wind training at a special institute to be located at SUNY Stony Brook. Certainly speaks to the issue of training people for the job opportunities that I know many of you are concerned about. So as the world is moving to net zero emissions, we are moving our pension fund to be net zero as well. And because of the urgency of the issue, we have set a net zero target of the year 2040. So 10 years ahead of that generally viewed year of 2050 as a very key milestone. So we're going to be engaging with our portfolio companies, especially the large emitters of greenhouse gas, to make sure that they are on a clear path to net zero. We're going to advocate for public policies, especially at the federal level, that will advance this agenda. And we're going to proactively invest in climate solutions as a way to make money for the fund, but also move this agenda forward. We have a climate action plan that we adopted in the year 2019. It's available on our website if some of you want to look at it. We committed $20 billion to climate solutions and sustainable investments by the year 2030. We've already deployed 11 billion of that money, so we are well on our way. Some of our investments include $250 million in a fund for investment in renewables, including on and offshore wind, solar, pump storage, biogas generation, climate infrastructure assets to support renewable power, $100 million in a fund focused on investments in solar and wind power generation. We've done a lot in green bonds and solar securities, and we're looking for many opportunities as they come our way. You're certainly seeing the market move and investors move, and that's creating more of these kinds of opportunities. We're also doing more in the area of real estate and real assets, looking to promote green opportunities there as well. So what we've seen is that our bottom line, in fact, has been enhanced by addressing not just the risks, but seeking out the opportunities to invest in the emerging global low carbon economy. As I said earlier, we're very delighted that President Biden, one of his first acts was to rejoin the Paris Agreement. It puts the US back in the company of the rest of the global world. And it's great to have a partner at the federal level. As you know, a little later today, I think at 4:20, President Biden will be outlining his $2 trillion infrastructure plan. It's a bold agenda, and much of it does focus on climate and transforming our built environment in a way that makes it more sustainable, addresses climate risk, and the creation of good-paying green jobs. Hopefully, many of those will be union jobs as well. It is a time for bold action, so I salute what the president is going to be announcing today. It also deals with issues of equity in terms of economic opportunity, environmental justice, which is certainly very, very important for our communities of color and disadvantaged communities, especially in light of all the other discussions going on about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of those are very, very appropriate. So I really feel that this is a very historic time. Some may compare it to the New Deal during FDR's time, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. I think President Biden, his focus on climate will rank along with those great initiatives of prior administrations. It really is a moment, and that's a moment that's creating career opportunities and job opportunities for the students who are participating in this festival. I know that this conference has networking sessions, professional development workshop, a job fair is part of your discussions in this festival to connect you with recruiters that are looking to hire full-time employees, offer internships as well. And certainly with your CUNY education, you are going to be well prepared to seize and take advantage of these many opportunities. So the timing couldn't be better. So I'm actually very optimistic, despite I guess some of the setbacks we saw in recent years with our own national administration, that we're back on track. Certainly from our perspective as an investor, we're seeing great opportunity, great change in the global economy. We're going to do what we can to help push markets, help push corporations in the right direction, both with our engagement with the companies and with how we're proactively handling investments. And I should say in some cases, divesting, taking our money out of of some of the investments that are in companies that aren't part of the change that we're all arguing for. So from my perspective, you're all at a very important time of change and opportunity. If I could use the phrase, it seems to me that America now has finally flipped the switch for a cleaner and healthier and stronger future. And I really look forward to the students, particularly who are part of this discussion, to being part of building that sustainable future that will effectively address the risk of climate change and make sure that we have a safe and healthy planet for all of us. So I'll end it there. I hope those remarks are helpful to your discussion. And Elliot, thank you for giving me a chance to talk about a little bit of our work and how it very much dovetails on the discussions going on at this festival.
Thank you so much, Comptroller DiNapoli. Those remarks were phenomenal. Really appreciate you sharing all the amazing work that you're doing. And just thank you for your support of CUNY students and for sharing, the amazing steps forward that you've taken in your role. I think you've shown us that with the proper leadership, you can really move the needle on climate change, and that we need an all of the above approach of combating the climate crisis. It's not just people in one sector or the other. It's it's the financing, it's the civil society, nonprofits, it's community organizing, it's everything. And it's also amazing through your work, you're holding investors and energy producers accountable to the communities that they serve, and making sure that we all work together to fight this common challenge of climate change. Finally, you emphasize that climate action is not a sacrifice as conventionally thought, but rather it can actually improve bottom lines in addition to improving the well-being of society. And I think that's a really important lesson for all of us to take away from today. So thank you again, Comptroller DiNapoli, for your remarks.
Thank you, Elliot.